Super excited to release this new video on YouTube. I teamed up with two world long drivers, Martin Borgmeier, a world long drive champion, and Josh Koch, who's won on the World Long Drive Tour. So these guys gave their top tips, 4 speed hacks you may not have heard of. So I hope you enjoy the video. Please like and share and comment below.
Especially for the average guy out there, I truly believe what a lot of people don't do, and what I was taught when I was young too. So I mean, I'm 31 now. When I was like 12, 13, 14, I was taught that my feet are supposed to stay stable and like almost rooted throughout the whole swing, right? Because it was taught as a very static rotational motion. And then the more I worked with Lee as well and yourself, the more I was actually starting to implement more dynamic, more athletic motion. So actually allowing my feet to move, and that starts in the very beginning of the golf swing. So actually what I try to do when I start at address, I try to get my mass, so weight shift over to the trail side over here. And to get there, to actually get over here to that side, I'm actually moving into my left side first. And that's what we call the trigger move. And there's, I mean, in long drive, obviously we have the most pronounced trigger moves, like overall. A lot of people saw Kyle do this. Like there's then Zach Holton doing this, right? There's a bunch of different moves out there. Some are more pronounced, some are less pronounced. But what we all have in common is, at some point we shift over to the left side to trigger to get over to the right. And that's where we want to end up. And that actually puts us in a position to start the golf swing very powerful.
Okay. So what could you do for that? And then we could put like an alignment stick on the ground so you can move left of the center and then right of center. Or we could put 2 sticks in the ground either side, 2 poles in the ground or shafts. So then we can move towards the left shaft and then move towards the right shaft. Just so some visual cues, that could work really well, wouldn't it?
And also I would encourage you to film yourself and just try the move and then actually check how much it is. Because in the very beginning it probably feels way more crazy than it actually is. Right? To me now, I know my move is like super pronounced, but to me it feels like nothing because I'm super used to it. But when you do it for the first time and you're used to staying fairly stable, then, well, it might feel like a big deal.
For me, when I watch you two swing and study your stuff, it's very pronounced. That first move of the sort of the trunk kind of leading, pelvis staying quite square. Pelvis can go across a bit, but you're not doing any rotation, or you're more kind of this way to get speed sort of super quick to the club, right?
Well, I mean, in long drive, that's like super pronounced, obviously, right? We do it the most extreme way. For the average guy out there, I mean, I don't want you to move like that and that, especially not with your 9-iron, right? But in general, I would say the
Stenson does a little trigger, a little lateral. Rory's definitely a bit lateral, a bit more dynamic in takeaway.
You see it a lot on, you don't see it, I mean, you see it a lot out on tour, but you don't see that out on tour. But the principle is exactly the same. So for you probably out there, when you feel like you're shifting like crazy, you're just shifting a little bit, and that can help you.
I reckon for me, when I do start to do that kind of trigger move, that gets me maybe an extra 2-3 mile an hour. Just that straight away getting that move going. So when I start to want to ramp up my speed, that's one of the first go-tos, that trigger to start the swing. So I absolutely love that one.
And I mean, that goes hand in hand with what you believe in the backswing, because then from here, we're shifting, but the club hasn't done anything yet. And then you believe in some elements in the backswing too, right?
Piggybacking off what Martin just said, what that allows us to do is get the pressure a lot more forward and earlier in the swing. So when I grew up in golf, there was 2 kind of schools of thought. You either set up, didn't shift your weight at all, or you had a very pronounced weight shift to where you were at the right side of your body at the top of the swing. And the reality is, it's kind of a combination of the two, right? So obviously we want the weight, the pressure moving to the right early, but as a player winds up, what we see in some of the fastest players in the world is they're actually getting their pressure back to their lead side a lot earlier than what the average person would think. And you see that a lot with one-sided sport applications. So tennis and baseball are 2 that I refer to a lot. Baseball being, I don't know if you guys don't play baseball here, so
it might be a few force ball guys though.
But the point is, if you look at a batter, they load right, and as they start that stride back to the left, the arms are still working back. So if we look at the golf swing, we're winding up, starts to get forward pressure-wise as those arms are still working back. So it's creating that overlapping, creating a lot of stretch through the core, through the shoulders. Same thing with tennis.
Definitely tennis, yeah.
Yeah, there's a step, and then the arm goes back as there's a stride
So
toward.
they're almost like a horizontal kind of stretch, right?
Right.
So they're going to go in this way as the body's going. So laterally, we've got pressure that way, although there's some mass held back from it. So we get this sort of stretch across the system horizontally, which is then ultimately going to allow that recoil, that really super quick recoil.
And going back to what Martin said, I think this is where the dynamics are so important at address.
Yeah.
Golf is a stationary sport, okay? One of the downsides to that is that leaves a lot of room for us to get static, allow the brain to kind of take over and become less reactive. If we were playing tennis or we were playing baseball, the ball would be coming at us. So we have to recreate that reactive environment in the setup and turn golf into a reactive sport. And that's where, like he said, having some type of movement, some type of dynamics at address will typically allow the body to react in the sequence that he described and that we see in other sports.
So you guys, with that then keeping it dynamic, that's the kind of the movements, the shuffling, the kind of the almost stimulating the nervous system, getting going like that. You got that kind of little jittering move going on before you get going, right?
Yeah, you
that would
get
be
some
that
like energy in
energy
your system.
in it,
That's
yeah,
how you
totally.
would like describe it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a physicist would be like, "Oh my God, that's not how to tell it," right?
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, that's exactly what it is. So I mean, I go like this and then shift, and I feel like I get everything going, right? And then I shift right, and then I can start the swing. There's just a lot going on, kind of like a priming motion before I actually move, right? Because it gets like, I mean, a dynamic motion is always more powerful than a very static motion when you just do something, right?
Yeah.
So there's a certain flow to it, and every trigger move out there is a little different.
Yeah.
And well, you can play around with it, create your own, right? There's 100 out there.
Yeah.
Pick one, try it. You like it, keep it. If not, keep going, right? And yeah.
Sometimes it could be just even a waggle though, isn't it? That's dynamic. That's getting things moving upstairs, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And then that could move with some foot shuffling. So you're not going to be doing big step on the golf course, a little waggle, a little foot shuffle, a little look at the target, and then see, then you can have your little application, pressure right, pressure left, and then that, and you sort of feel that motion going.
I always treat the dynamics like a volume dial, right?
Yeah.
So depending on what the shot calls for, you could dial it up or dial it down.
Yep.
The important part is that the sequence is reacting in the right order.
Yes.
So case in point, you're on an open par 5, you want to step one, or you're competing in long drive, ramp it up as much as you want, because there's not going to be any ramifications of hitting it left or right.
Yeah.
But if you have a 100-yard wedge shot, right, it's not going to make sense for us to create a ton of movement because of the low point control, the consequences of low point control.
Yes.
So typically in that setting, if you trained it and primed it on the 100% level, you could very easy almost feel like you're staying centered on that shorter wedge shot. And because it's patterned over time, you'll probably get the same benefit with the added low point control.
Love that.
So,
Very, very good.
I mean,
so I just wanted to chime in on this one, and in addition, add some a little bit of coaching experience, and from my perspective, just help you understand a little bit more about the two hacks that both Martin and Josh had mentioned. So Martin talked about the dynamic movement and moving his feet around a bit and the pre-swing kind of triggers. Now, I mentioned that you could, you know, have some sticks in the ground either side to look at lateral motion, or something in the middle of your stance to help you identify or measure lateral motion, because your eyes are obviously down, and if you've got a stick on the ground, you can check to see where your centers are. Think about your belt buckle being your lower body center. It's actually below that. Your lower body center sits between your legs, but just think about the belt buckle being kind of lower body center, or your zipper. And then your shirt buttons being your upper body center. And, you know, is your upper body center moving across? That should happen a little bit. It doesn't need to be the lower body center going across. So that upper body center moving across and past that middle line's a good one. That upper body center, is it stretching up? Is it moving up to the top of the backswing? That's a good one. So kind of, do you get that initial trigger of the centers, the upper body center going forwards of the center line towards target, and then backwards away from target? So this kind of side to side upper center, which is going to then trigger the ground reaction forces. That will spike that lateral push towards the target, ground reaction away. And then second to that, as the chest then repositions itself to the right of center, that lateral force away from target under the trail foot will begin to spike to stop that lateral motion of your upper center. So you've got kind of a couple of things you can work on with that. Now, if we were to take things less violent and less chaotic, so, you know, we're all talking about speed here, understand, but if you're hitting iron shots, that trigger might be a kick in, a moving in motion, a kicking in motion of the trail leg. That will kind of counter turn you. It will move you slightly over to the left as you kick that knee in, and then trigger, help you spike the ground reaction forces to shift over towards the right or the trail. Okay, so knee kicking could be one. Forward shaft lean is another, just pushing the shaft forwards. If you push the shaft forwards, make sure the face stays square or how it's originally lined. Okay, don't push the shaft forward and open the face, so keep that face square, so there'll be some rotation to, as the wrists start to move, to orientate that shaft lean. Just make sure that the forearms are rotating, the hands and palms of the hands are rotating correctly to keep that face square when you do so, or keep that face aligned to where you originally positioned it. So a number of triggers that you can do. Then Josh mentioned the shifting of the center of pressure. So center of pressure is your average location of your vertical forces. I want to make that clear. There's going to be some different videos that I'm going to release about that, because I think there's a big misunderstanding, especially on social media, with center of mass and center of pressure. Now, center of pressure is the average location of your vertical force, so we are talking about a force that aids your ability to lift and drop, okay? It does aid your ability to tilt and bend, but should we say primarily lift and drop. So shifting your center of pressure, so applying more force vertically to your left foot than your right foot will shift your center of pressure to your left or lead side. Okay, and that shift of the center of pressure should be happening around where the hands reach the top of the backswing. Maybe a fraction before, but certainly not after that, as the hands are moving down. The pressure is shifting before the hands start down. So you want to kind of time that pressure. Not that you're doing it too early. It shouldn't be happening too early. The pressure is in your trail side for most of your backswing, and then it shifts to your lead side, okay? Your vertical forces shift from your trail side to your lead side, okay? But I would more get you to think about how fast can you switch those forces? How fast can you start to apply vertical force to your lead foot and the ball of your big toe? Now, you can obviously use a force pedal for that. You can use a wedge, a force pedal. I'm going to place that under the balls of my toes of my lead foot. I'm going to get to the top of the backswing. I'm going to feel maybe relatively centered from a pressure perspective, maybe a fraction in my trail side. So, and then I'm going to pump down, and I'm going to push the knee forwards as I flex the knee. I'm going to keep my left shoulder down as I move across. My weight is, of course, going to move, but I'm thinking more of applying more vertical force to my lead foot. Pump down onto that force pedal. So getting the timings of it, so holding yourself top of backswing, and then begin to apply more vertical force to your lead foot. So there's a couple of things for you to work on, and obviously to relate to the information and the tips that we've got from Martin and Josh in the first two speed hacks.
Very, very good. I mean, the next part that I would add is, this is all mechanics.
Yeah.
But there's something more to speed creation, speed training, and all that stuff, right? There's a lot of tools out there, yes, but when you cycle through a week of training or a month of training, what I see is my numbers fluctuate. They go up and down, and I can't be fast every day. I mean, the recovery of the body, and especially the central nervous system, what you don't really feel, is absolutely crucial for speed generation. So sometimes when let's say I feel amazing, I'm ready to go, I've been priming in the gym and so on and so forth, I feel ready to go, I hit, I see my numbers, it feels crazy fast, but it's not as fast. On other days, when I'm traveling, I'm jet lagged, I'm tired or whatever, but I sat on a plane for a day and then took another day off, and I hit the next day, feel terrible, and all of a sudden I'm breaking records.
Yes.
That's how I broke my first ball over 230.
Wow.
Right? I went to the U.S. It was during COVID and all that, but whatever. So long story short, I took 2 days off, 2 extra days off, because I had to. I was forced to do that, and then I hit, and all of a sudden I broke that barrier. So sometimes when you put in a lot of work, it's actually not about the work you put in to improve, but about the recovery of the body to actually make it work.
Understand.
But on the other hand, recovery is only good when you put the work in before. The consistent recovery is not going to be really good. So
permanent recovery.
Exactly. You got to do something to actually benefit from the recovery.
Yeah,
so keep that in mind, and then find what works for your body, because everybody's a little different, and depending on how you prime yourself and condition yourself, it might be different too. Because when you're a tour player and you play over 4 days, it's a different kind of priming and conditioning compared to just the average golfer who wants to get a little bit faster. Then I would structure it in a way, maybe don't do 2 speed sessions in a row, just have a day in between, and then do it again on 2 days in between, and play around with that recovery period to find the optimum for you.
Love it. So Martin talked about on hack 3 about the CNS and rest in the CNS. So I want to make this a little bit more relatable, because obviously Martin being a professional long driver, same with Josh, Martin obviously being a world champion, so I'm not saying that his program was different to Josh's, but we're taking a world championship winning program and protocol. So he's going to be doing a lot more work that's going to be more tiring or taxing. So compared to a golfer that's looking for a little bit more extra speed, some extra yards to outdrive their buddies on the course. So if you're doing some kind of speed protocol, let's say a ripstick protocol or any kind of stack system or super speed, whatever it may be. If you're doing some kind of speed stick protocol, okay, generally I have and I prescribe and recommend a protocol of about 48 swings, anything from 36 to 48 swings in a session. Takes around 10 to 15 minutes, no more, to do it. It's all out, it's maximum intent, so it should be tiring. If you're not tired at the end of a speed protocol, you're not swinging it fast enough. Obviously understand that the lighter sticks are lighter than your driver, so your speeds are going to be higher. So manage your expectations. As you go into the medium load and heavy loads, they're going to be slower than your driver. So 48 swings, taking about 10 to 15 minutes, absolute max. I would add in some drivers into that as well, so you could add, if you did 36 swings, and then did 6 drivers all out. So that session would consist of some extra swings on top. So if you did the speed protocol 36, you add in some your own drivers, make it 48. If there's any single arm supplementary work, again, just make sure that you look at the right information about single arm supplementary work and be responsible doing single arm swings. That effectively what you're doing, you are working out and with maximum intent and really putting everything into that session, okay? And if it could also be, so that's a speed protocol, you could just be hitting your own driver for 10 or 15 minutes really, really hard. That would be fine as a protocol as well. Okay, so just getting your club, your shaft, your head, your grip, so it's your weight, your club, and swinging that for 15 minutes all out, okay? If you're getting a bit tired, just have a little breather, take some water, go again, but keep the intensity up as much as possible. What I would suggest when you start this, you may start with a sort of a 5 to 10 minute program and then increase it from 10 to 15. So give yourself 5 to 10 minutes for a couple of weeks, maybe 4 sessions or so, and then increase the time, the duration a little bit. So just manage that, manage the load, manage the amount that you're doing, but making sure that it's maximum intent. Now the rest, and coming back to the point of it, the rest, what I would suggest with the rest is that you rest a day in between your speed day. So if you train speed on a Monday, in between your golf program, in some way, shape or form, whether that's in the morning or in the evening, bear in mind, I would track your speeds. You might swing it faster in the morning, you might swing it faster in the afternoon or evening. So manage your expectations, understanding your speeds. Now that's quite relevant as well, because if you know what your speed and what your output is in the morning, you can plan your round of golf, right? You don't want to be trying to carry that bunker on the, on the first or the second hole, knowing that your early tee off time, you're first off in the tournament or competition. You're not going to be able to reach that bunker because you know your speeds are a lot lower in the morning, even after a full workout or warm-up session on the range before you play. So know your speeds during the day, morning, midday, afternoon, evening. Help you understand what you're capable of your output speed-wise out on the golf course is really important. But going back to the point of rest, if you train speed on a Monday, Tuesday would be your day of rest. Do any other golf skill other than speed, then you can pick up speed again on a Wednesday. I would suggest you do 2 speed sessions a week, at most 3 sessions a week, but I'd build into that over 4 or 5 weeks. But start off with 2, it's more than enough. If you don't want to buy expensive training aids, I would buy a small launch monitor for tracking speed so you know what you're doing. If you don't track speed, how do you know if you're getting faster? So you need to measure it. Get a PRGR launch monitor or a RIP radar, something like that, then not hugely expensive. So you're always tracking your speed, you're recording it somewhere, whether it's on your phone or paper or whatever. Tracking your speeds, that you rest and then you go back. So you've got a speed session, a regular golf day, a speed day, a regular golf day, and then maybe a speed day if you're doing 3 a week. Now, that would be good if you don't have a tournament, okay? If you've got a tournament competition, I would be absolutely not doing anything with any kind of load, maximum load, and high intensity stuff for prolonged periods on a tournament week. So that kind of 48 swing protocol, that 10-15 minute training program, all out drivers for 10-15 minutes, I would avoid that. I would go for, during a tournament week, 6 balls. So on the driving range, you're doing your normal warm-up routine or however you're preparing for your tournament on the driving range. 6 balls, maximum intent, hit it as far as possible. Doesn't matter where they go. And then go back to your tournament prep. So it could be a good circuit breaker. You could use it in between your warm-up or your prep session. 6 balls all out with a driver twice a week in a tournament week, no more than 3 times a week. Again, a day off in between. So they're more speed activators or waking up speed, just kind of keep speed going during tournament season. So you may be off in tournaments 2, 3, 4, however many weeks in a row. So you still want to activate speed, you still want to wake it up, you don't want it to regress while you're on the road and in tournament play. But then when you finish tournaments and you go back home, you're sleeping in your own bed, you're resting normal, eating as you would do normally, you can go back to your speed protocol, 2 or 3 sessions per week, whether that's, again, a training aid session or your own driver session, 10-15 minutes, okay? So rest in the CNS, making it relatable for amateur golfers, playing golfers rather than tournament, seasoned, tournament, long drivers, okay? So I hope you understand that a little bit more, and that makes more sense of what Martin mentioned in speed hack number 3.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, so important. If we had to give my one speed tip relative to the CNS is really understanding how to speed the backswing up. So one of the things that I started noticing about Martin and Kyle Burchard, guys that were over 150 miles an hour, is that the head of their club going back was so fast that it would actually make a whoosh. So if you're standing behind these guys watching them, you could actually hear some resistance of the club head moving through the air. So really go crazy in terms of speeding the backswing up. It's going to feel out of control. You might even top a few balls at first, but that's kind of your body going through the process of recalibrating that new speed and the timing of where you're at in the swing.
Okay, so what we could do then from a resistance standpoint, maybe tie like a scarf, you mentioned stuff like that one, to use a scarf, tie it to make it a bit harder to get speed to it, to create some little bit of resistance.
Right.
Different launch monitors. Lee was talking about this. Use a PRGR launch monitor. Try and get the backswing speed to go up.
Yeah.
So a couple of things I think Lee mentioned: pushing the club forwards a little bit, and then getting sort of almost a back forwards and then whoosh.
Right.
And try and get that auditory kind of.
That, by the way, helps with the trigger move as well, because if you start over here
Yeah.
and try to shift to the right, you automatically implement a little bit of this to actually make it over
Get it
there,
in.
right? So in theory, when you're here, where you would actually start the golf swing, you already shifted
Yeah,
over.
you've already gone.
Right, so that could help with that as well. So this goes really in line with my first point, and I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about that logically, it's very basic. If I was going to punch Martin, I would never go like that and then move into him. You're using your feet to build up and store energy, and then the last thing to go is the end of the object. So.
And there's so much when you're looking at boxes and just exact on its own, then the flow of the moving, they're always that way, because then they time that and go. They don't stand there and go. Everything we're seeing and what you described there with baseball, the ball coming back and getting in, tennis, they're moving into position, everything's winding up, they've got this stretch across the systems, and then nobody's standing still and then try and hit it.
Yeah.
So, but we're in that static
Yeah.
position, so it's about almost like try to free it up, whether that is in just a little waggle and a little foot shuffle, just free things up a little bit to a point that if you want to go super fast, then we've got to move, get energy out there as much as we can to try and get to the dizzy heights of how you do it, right?
Yeah, especially I believe a lot of people, when they address the golf ball, they're so busy in their head actually making good contact that they're almost afraid of adding any additional elements. But what I see a lot with these golfers is as soon as they free up and they move, contact is getting better.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's a more dynamic motion, everything's just more in sync, the sequencing works better, and all of a sudden they realize like, oh, this is a sport.
Yeah.
Ding dong.
Absolutely love it. Guys, amazing. Really appreciate everything. So, viewers, where can they find you? Josh, tell us where we find you.
Instagram, Josh Koch Golf, YouTube, Hit Bombs, website, hitbombs.com.
It's right here. There it is.
Nobody cares, swing harder, no excuses.
The hitbombs.com down there.
So I imagine we can find you anywhere, right?
Yeah.
With this thing somewhere, right?
That's true, but on Instagram, I'm just Martin Borgmeier. On YouTube as well, on TikTok. I'm posting a lot out there. I have stories up every day, so make sure to follow if you like it. And, well, you'll see a lot of bombs hopefully, over the next couple weeks. I mean, yesterday I went 233. That's my personal best on the Trackman here, and I didn't expect it, just talking recovery and all that, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little interesting. So I'm trying to push the speed as much as I can this winter, so make sure to follow.
Josh, we'll be seeing you more next season as well,
Yep.
getting back into it.
Yep.
Brilliant. There you go, guys. Check these boys out and enjoy it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Some real good hacks from some of the best and some of the fastest on the planet. So with the final hack that Martin mentioned, and there was a discussion about tempo and rhythm. Now, the backswing is certainly fast, in the fastest swing, should we say, those that swing it the fastest on the planet, generally we see the backswing quicker. Okay, so they got really quick backswing and quick tempos. So you can do things, you could have your driver, your iron, you can tie a bag towel or a scarf to it. Scarf's quite long, so it's a bit of an extra load. A smaller towel, a bigger towel. Be aware, obviously, of the load that you put in, maybe start lighter. You can put load onto your club. You can work on going backwards and forwards. And this is quite a good drill. Using the auditory cue and the whooshing sound of the club, the louder the sound, the faster the club is moving back, okay? So backwards and forwards. And doing that backwards and forwards and getting used to that club moving faster. Now it's triggered mainly by the arms and the chest. It certainly isn't massive lateral movements of the lower body. It certainly isn't massive rotational movements of the lower body. So as you see this here, I'm going backwards and forwards mainly with the chest. You can see that there's side to side in that motion. The left, the ground reaction forces triggering the rightward motion or the trail side motion of my upper body, getting used to that club moving faster. Then you could spin the club the other way around and do this with single arms. And what I'm doing now is adding some steps. So if I go left, I swing forwards. If I go right, I swing backwards. So kind of getting the step in, the foot action, ground reaction forces, get the club forwards. Obviously now I've got ground reaction that's going to help me move to trail. And then so getting the steps in before the motion. You can do that with either arms, no problem. So there's a bit of variety to that to help you with backswing tempo and speed. Then you've got the Tour Tempo app. Now obviously you can download this, but you've got the different tempos, the 18.6, the 21.7, the 24.8. Now 21.7's fast tour, 24.8 is seen on tour, 18.6 is long drive. Now if we were to take that in beats or frames of the backswing, then we know that obviously to get 6 frames, 8 frames going, 18 frames going backwards versus 21, effectively that means that that club is traveling a lot faster back. So if you find your tempo with your regular swing, train with the tempo 1 speed up, okay? If you get good with that and your regular swing begins to form that kind of tempo, then you can change to the next one and train with the next one. Bear in mind, I wouldn't go over 21.7 as a gamer. You know, if you're becoming a long driver and going for super top speeds, then 18.6 is okay. If you're training that, I wouldn't want you gaming more than 21.7. That's generally what we're seeing the tour players do. So the fastest tour players, especially somebody like Rory, for example. So use the Tour Tempo app, use that for training, different drills, exercises you can do to help with your backswing speeds and also the timing of your ground reaction forces. So that kind of brings everything together. I've added my information, my advice, my tips to help make things a bit more relatable for all types of players. Hope you enjoyed this video. It was a great collab with the two guys. I thank Martin and Josh, both of them, for their contributions to this video. Please like, subscribe, share, get hold of the channel, share it with your friends, subscribe so you get the new videos. There's going to be lots of new content coming up, so I'm excited about the new content coming in the next few weeks and future months.